Welcome to Scrolling to Death. Today I have Titania Jordan, Chief Marketing Officer of Bark Technologies. Hi, Titania.
Hello, Nicki.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm great because I'm no longer sick, and that means
Yay.
life is good.
Yeah, and you were in New York while you were sick because you guys had a really cool event at Bark. Can you tell us about that really quick?
Yes, we did a throwback to childhood before tech existed, and invited everybody that we could to come experience at this amazing place called the Lightbox, which is a venue that has basically a screen or simulation thrown up onto all four walls around you. And so we started with like old school refrigerator and a letter writing station with Lisa Frank stickers and Trapper Keepers and like
Cute.
old school games and puzzles and a TV from like the 80s showing Scooby-Doo on repeat and just like,
Mhm.
this is what childhood used to be like. And then room went dark. We heard the bell ring, right? Because recess is over. Fast forward to 2025. Showed some clips from Childhood 2.0 of what kids are really experiencing today, shared some data, and just helped people to understand, where is childhood at now? And then what can we do about it? What are some free solutions?
Mhm.
Showcased our tech, et cetera. So it was amazing. It was amazing. There was a wait list of 800 people that wanted to come,
Wow.
despite the crazy, crazy hurricane that came through
Oh,
New
yeah.
York. And yeah, we're going to evaluate and see if this should come to more cities. So.
I love that, and I had sick kids, otherwise I would have been there too. I wonder, like, that nostalgic feeling is such a good feeling for people of our age, like, to remember how childhood used to be, but some people, when I talk about things like that, they're like, "We can't go back. We can't go back in time and make our households like they used to be." What would you respond to someone who says that?
I would say you can. You absolutely can. It's a matter of do you want to or not? What conveniences are you willing to sacrifice?
Mhm.
I know that's kind of like a hard line to take, but
Mhm.
it is possible. And I'm saying this as a mom of a 16-and-a-half-year-old who wishes she would have done that. Like, I wish we didn't have so many smart TVs in the house that had YouTube just completely enabled on it. I
Mhm.
wish we didn't allow connected tech in the bedrooms. I wish we didn't default to handing him an iPad, when we had to take a call or have a nice peaceful dinner at a restaurant. Like, I
Mhm.
get it. I get it. But like, there are definitely things that you can do to dial back. I wish I could have said no more often. I wish I could have said, it's okay for you to be upset with me
Yeah.
and be mad that I'm not letting you have X, Y, or Z. But, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna dig into today is not necessarily from like a regret standpoint, but like what would you do if you could move forward and make different decisions, or what should other parents be thinking about that have younger children? And I think when you're talking about like you can always go back, you can create the household that you would like. There was a time when everyone was I got on board with all of the things like Ring doorbell, Alexa, like smart TV in the bedroom. That was just what everyone was doing. And then I don't have any of those things now. And I feel so much better for it. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. And so you can choose what comes into your home related to technology and how your kids interact with it.
Yes, absolutely. Will there be an adjustment period for all of you? Yeah.
Mhm.
Same thing as if you're eating ice cream every night for dinner and you packed on 50 pounds and maybe you needed to lose 5 pounds, right? You
Mhm.
dial it back. Or maybe it's just not good for your glucose or insulin level. Like,
Yeah.
too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Yeah, and like often you end up in a better place. Like for example, the Alexa, right? The intention at first was like, okay, we can play music without having to do anything but say, Alexa, play this music. Then my kids started like asking questions of Alexa, and it got really interesting there. So when I didn't like that, I wanted to have like discussions without consulting an AI immediately, and
Uh-huh.
so we removed that. And then what happens is we have a lot more in depth, curious discussions without knowing the answer immediately. And also, that answer coming from that AI is not always accurate either.
Yeah, it's the convenience, it's the trade-offs. I mean, even in school, the switch from children taking notes on a computer Typing them does a different thing in your brain than writing down notes on paper with a pen or pencil. The ability to memorize and retain information and not get distracted, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe science shows that taking manual notes, handwritten notes, saves it to your brain better.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's not be in a rush to optimize for convenience at the sake of these critical learning, social and emotional development years.
Yeah, we just had our parent-teacher conferences for the kids, and they're at a school where they don't use technology. It's like a classical charter school.
Such a blessing.
Yeah, but they do state testing. So 3 times a year, they do have I think, Chromebooks, and they do a couple hours of testing 3 times a year. You get handed in the parent-teacher conference, like, the scores of the testing, and the teacher's like, "Are you familiar with this test?" I'm like, "It's on a device, right?" They're like, "Yeah." I was like, "These test scores mean nothing to me."
Exactly. Because there's so many things to factor in,
Yeah, and, kids they struggle with reading something on a screen and then having to answer questions and comprehend what they're reading.
Yeah.
That is more difficult for them on a screen. We know that from research. So you have control over a lot more, I think, than we think we do around what our kids have access to. Not everything, but a lot. We're going to go back to talking about your experience as a mom. That's your most important role. You're a mom of a teenage boy. Is he 16 still?
He is. He's almost 17.
Okay. And, you insinuated that you've told me a bunch of times that you wish you kind of did things a little bit differently. But I would push back on that to be like, the information really wasn't available then,
It wasn't. It really wasn't.
What I want to ask you is some questions that parents might have to learn from the lessons that you've learned raising a nearly 17-year-old. So first, you know more than almost everyone in the world, I feel like, on online safety. This is your day in, day out work. You're on the front lines of this. You've also lived this as a mom. So if you could reflect back on what was it like raising your son in a world where these things were coming up and they were very exciting. There was a lot of hope around them.
I remember nursing him to sleep in the rocking chair we got off Facebook Marketplace. And he was asleep in my arms, and I'd have my smartphone and I'd be scrolling while he was sleeping, right? Which is fine in some ways, because if you're stuck, you don't want to move because you got a kid that you don't want to wake up. At the same time, I wish I could have spent more time just staring at him, breathing and sleeping and taking it in instead of distracting, right?
Right.
I didn't work full-time all the time when he was younger. I was home a lot with him and then worked while he napped or overnight. So in those moments with him, instead of being present with him as much as I could have, I was scrolling, I was multitasking, I was texting, I was emailing, and part of it was a function of trying to balance work and motherhood, but I didn't always have to do that, right? I didn't always have to be on the phone, or I didn't always have to be taking photos of everything and videoing everything. He saw me. He saw me and observed, okay, this is what humans do. Humans have these things in front of their faces a lot. So for those of you with littles, try to minimize your use of this tool, because it will rob you of precious motherhood moments.
And affect how they end up using it. There's literally research that shows the more they see you using it, the more they'll end up using it, but also the more they tantrum and act out and give you grief. They will act worse the more you use your device in front of them. That was what some of the research
100%.
Recently said. And that makes sense, right? You're not paying attention to them. They're trying to get your attention.
Totally. And when he got older, on the playground, he'd be playing with a kid. I'd be on my phone instead of connecting with other mothers who were also on their phones, right?
Yeah.
Or at his sports games, go sports ball. I was working. I was working and not forming friendships with the other moms and dads. It's just, anyway. So
yeah,
lead by example.
Different time. Lead by example.
Lead by example. My ex-husband and I, who I love to death, wonderful man, we'd both be in the living room or in our bedroom with a TV on, but both on our phones, not talking to each other. And to have our son see that and think that that's an example of a healthy marriage, it just kind of guts me, because I wasn't. I think the next thing is pacifying in the short term, but feeding an addiction in the long term.
Right.
Huge problem. Whether it was the TV, the iPad, my phone, a computer, the ability to just put the screen in front of his face and know that he would be quiet and safe and
Right.
still.
Yep.
So I could get stuff done.
Yeah.
Even if it was educational programming, this was forming dopamine spikes and addictions that wasn't good for him. It wasn't good for him. I needed to be more strong and more confident as a mom to not use that quick fix. I opted for the screens too early, too soon. Make your house full of all the things that you can that are not screens, whether it's markers, Legos, puzzles, paper, pencils. You don't have to spend a ton of money, but like, just please avoid the screen as long as possible, please.
No. And though using it as a babysitter is such a tricky one. Even parents I know, like this couple I know that I won't obviously name, the other night, they went around the corner to a Halloween party for a short period of time. They left their 2 kids at home alone, which like I'm kind of all for like some independence. Like let's let them within reason. Like they made sure the kids were set up with their iPads before they went to this party. Like that would be their babysitter in a way. And I just thought like, can't we just let them like engage and have fun and figure something out to do? It's kind of like exciting to be home alone for a short amount of time. I just think that's how a lot of parents see it, as a babysitter that keeps them safe when they're in, we know, way more danger sitting on that device, whether it be direct danger through a predator or bad content on the device or just what it is doing to their brain over time.
Well, let's talk about what it's doing to their brain, because you and I know, but everybody listening maybe doesn't.
Yeah.
The screens give them pleasure that is more pleasurable than most in real life activities and interpersonal interactions. When you do give the screen and then you're like, well, why aren't they enjoying all these other things that I did in my childhood? Because it literally doesn't compare scientifically. So that's how it affects their brain.
Yeah.
If you want them to only be educated by, entertained by, pacified by a screen, by all means, go that route. But you will have an unhealthy child physically and mentally, and I don't think any caring parent wants that. For parents who have children with ADHD, autism, Asperger's, any sort of neuroatypical child, those neurological differences can be superpowers. But when it comes to screens, it's actually even more of an uphill battle because they have even a higher propensity to be addicted.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. It's really, really hard.
Yeah, they find everything else, like if they're used to that high dopamine hit from screens, they find everything else to be more boring and dull, and their brain wants to get them back up to a higher level of dopamine, so they crave and become dependent on the screen use. It's very much works like an addiction to any other kind of addictive substance, like heroin or alcohol, and they like neurologists talk about brain scans of someone addicted to screens and addicted to illicit drugs, and they look very, very similar, almost exact.
Yeah, like we're not exaggerating here. We're not like, is it Luddites?
Luddites. No.
Like, no offense to Luddites. Like, we're not crazy. Like, this is science. If the science said screens were good for kids, we'd let our kids be on screens. It just doesn't.
Yeah. And, my ex-husband and I talk a lot about our 5-year-old who got to grow up when we had already realized how harmful screens can be. And so she didn't get any of it. She's really never held an iPad. She has not touched our phones. She watches only like long form movies with the family. And she is the happiest, sweetest, smartest, like most interesting child. And we do like to put it back to like, it's because of the low screen childhood. Like it just really, not to put down my other kids, they're incredible too, but like you can really see something special in her. And I will point to the screen, to the lack of screen use.
It's undeniable. It is undeniable.
Yeah. Do you mind reflecting back on when you gave your son his first device, or a device that was sort of his to use, whether that was for gaming or like a phone, and what was that like? Did you regret it kind of right away? Was there signs of issues right away, or did it take a
Yes,
while? What was that like?
I regretted it right away. No, I know. I think for 5 minutes, I was probably like, "Wow, this is amazing.
Uh-huh.
He's quiet and he's still and he's really into this."
Mhm.
And then after, like, 5 minutes, I was like, "Uh-oh.
Yeah.
He's not gonna wanna let this go. He doesn't like anything else as much as he likes this."
Right, of
Now,
course.
um, and it became a bargaining chip, it became a source of contention. This is embarrassing to say, but at one point, I'm gonna say this out loud, like, I couldn't even get him to take a bath unless I was like, "Okay, you can watch a show on the iPad. I'll put it on a little stool. Just please take a bath." Like, no, you don't need to be asking your kid to please do anything. They should just do what you tell them to do.
I know.
But, like, I was held hostage by this 5-year-old.
That's rough.
It's not his fault. It's not his
No.
fault. His
No.
job at that age is to advocate for what he wants, 'cause
Yeah.
that's what kids do.
I wanna ask, though, like, whose fault is it? It's not yours. Whose fault is it?
Oh, see, I thought it was my fault, but,
No.
well, it's also
Let's push past that.
okay, Apple
Right.
for designing addictive tech and not having a warning label on it for
Right.
kids.
Correct. Okay.
The gaming companies for designing addictive gamifications and algorithms.
Yep.
YouTube, I mean, it's big tech. It's big tech for not being able to currently be held liable for the harms it causes children.
Yep.
So it was on me to somehow know all of that ahead of time.
Right. It wasn't possible. I expect parents to know better now, but I obviously
Yes.
work in this, right? So it's hard because, like, 2 days ago at our daughter's soccer game, a bunch of kids were coloring. My ex-husband brought like markers. He brings like a giant set of markers, and they lay down the blanket and they're all coloring. And there's one little 5-year-old on her mom's phone sitting alone further over. And my mom and I were like, do you think that the mom of that child on the phone is going to like look at the group of kids engaging and smiling and laughing, coloring, and
Mm,
tell her daughter to, get off the phone and go color? And
right.
she did not. And I just thought, how can you look at the stark difference of those situations and ignore it and not see it for what it is? And maybe it made me question, like, maybe we're not at a point where all the parents realize how bad that is for them.
They don't know yet. Not all of them know yet. Yeah,
Right.
a lot more do,
Okay.
but not enough. And it's so easy to just because your kids are smart. They have one job, and that's to get what they want, right?
Mhm.
And so they'll be like, "Oh, can I see your phone real quick? I just wanna look up this thing on Amazon real quick."
Mhm. Yeah.
Real quick turns into 20 minutes later, right? Because you get pulled
Yeah.
into a conversation, you're doing something else. Like,
Mhm.
you can't hand your kid the phone to do the things.
Right.
If your child is going to be allowed to be on a screen, you gotta sit with them. You just have to sit with them and be like, let's look up this thing together.
Yeah.
And now we're done.
Right.
And my screen comes back to me and
Mhm.
we're done."
Yeah. And that's why, like, also, if it's not an option at all, like if they're not allowed to touch my phone or don't have access to any screens, like, for example, my son is home sick today. He's really not that sick, it turns out. But he wants to go out front. He wants to go out front and ride his bike. And I'm like fighting it because I'm like, of course I want him to be able to go outside and ride his bike, but I want to reward him for pretending to be sick today. So I'm like, how do I handle this? But instead he's just
Uh,
laying there reading. There's like no screen option still, and
right.
he doesn't ask for it because we don't turn any TV on in the daytime. Back to your talking about giving the device maybe for the iPad for games, and then like the phone, and there being like regret there. Can you talk
Mhm.
about, for parents that have given it, whatever it is, like, can they go back? It can seem impossible, but what do you have to say about going back?
You can go back and you should go back. And I wish I would have gone back. Your kids will throw every single excuse your way, like, everybody's going to be on Roblox now and I'm not, and I'm going to be left out. One thing you could say is, I realize that. I realize how yucky that feels. And you have every right to feel angry, sad, frustrated. But this is what we're doing because it's best for you. And what
Right.
we will do is make sure we can get together with those boys or girls in real life. We're going to schedule play dates. We're going to go to the park. We'll go to the library. We'll meet up. We'll have them over for lunch or dinner. Like, we'll make
Yeah.
sure you have some really good quality time with them to play,
Mhm.
but we're not doing it in this way because there's too many harms,
Yeah.
period.
And, like, I learned more than we made a decision to give it, and now I've learned a lot of things. And so and even, like, bring them in on some of the harms age appropriately, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
educate them. Say like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I made a mistake. This isn't your fault
Right.
that I let you have this and then
Yeah.
realized it was bad for you,
Yeah.
but I would be a bad parent if I let you continue to have it."
Yeah.
And then they'll say, "You're not a bad parent." You're like, "Well, thank you, but
Yeah.
I will be if I let you have this still."
Yeah.
And
Right.
so we gotta walk it back. We gotta walk it back. And it doesn't mean never.
Yeah.
There's some things that are just you got to be very, very consistent and stringent with the limits, with the time of day, with the days of week. Because if you say, for example, we're only gonna do screens on the weekends, and then that happens for like 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you slide, and you let it happen on Monday, you let it happen on Friday. Like, they know that you don't mean it. And if
Yeah.
you give kids an inch, they will take 700 yards.
Yes. I know, and they'll ask constantly, especially the kids that like it a little more. You can know everyone's got a kid that, like, is a little more, like, that maybe has a tendency to become dependent on it.
Mhm.
I wanna single out video games here
Oh,
because
gosh, yes.
for some reason, like, parents will have a really hard line about even smartphones and social media, but they're like, "But video games are so fun. I grew up playing video games, and it's not that bad for them. They play with their sibling, and it's limited time." And I know there are better video games than others or worse than others. And so, what did you learn from your experience allowing your child to play video games?
I learned that if it was a game that he and I could play, or he and his dad could play, or he and his friends and us, like, we could play together,
In person together?
in person together,
Yeah.
and be like, "Hey, we're gonna do this for 30 minutes, and then
Mhm.
then we're done." That's fine.
Mhm.
Like, as long as the game wasn't, Grand Theft Auto or,
Mhm.
etcetera.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was the putting him in front of the game and letting him play for hours, or making that the only way that he connected with peers, whether they were people he actually knew in real life or
Mhm.
random people he met online. That was where it went bad. The darkness, there's a lot of darkness that exists in a lot of these games
Mhm.
that sometimes will scare kids and they won't talk to you about it, or the money that they lose to the
Mhm.
gamification and in-app upgrade. Like,
Yep.
it's a dark world out there, and you really have to be mindful about which games you let them play, if at all, where the gaming console is allowed. Please do not let it be in the bedroom or even like in the basement. Like, if it's in a room where your kids go and you don't have visibility,
Yeah.
walk
Yep.
that back.
Yep. And I think even with the safer games that are played together, like time limits, you mentioned 30 minutes. I really like that's what I've heard from a lot of different experts and doctors is like 30-minute sessions, guys, and then that's it. Also, will say it's hard when there are two different households, like in my situation, and there's two different caregivers who feel differently about this. I get lots of messages from parents who are like, their other parent doesn't care about this stuff and they do a lot. For me, I feel like if you are making safe, healthy choices in your home, that's all you have control over. And it's balancing out whatever else is happening in the other home. Like
Yes.
that's something to remember and release like control of what you don't have control over.
100%. You got to give yourself some grace. You cannot control what's happening in the other parent or caregiver's household. I will say that if the parent or caregiver that has the more lax rules or no rules won't listen to you or science,
Mm.
feel free to bring it up with their pediatrician and have them take the kid to the next pediatrician visit. Like, plant that seed. Be like, "Hey, this parent is letting my kid online all the time.
Mm.
Don't tell them I told you that, but like, there's ways." I'm just
Yeah.
saying, there's ways.
I'm a big fan of our pediatrician. She always asks about screen time, and now she follows me on Instagram and likes to talk about these things. So that's a great tip. I should have him take. Not that, my ex is bad at this, but it's just like he's a little more, he likes the video games too. So that you're making choices in your own home related to screens, the best with all the information that you have, the best you can. But then your kids go to other houses and have different rules. For example, my son just started playing with a boy down the street, and just yesterday, and now he's the best friend and he wants to have sleepovers and he's like, oh my God, he's so excited about him, which is really cute. But also that boy plays video games and has a phone at 9. And I'm a little bit like, oh God, how do I approach this?
That's really hard.
Yeah.
Our friend Chris McKenna says, and I might blunder this quote, but essentially, our kids are only as safe as their friend with the weakest digital rules.
Oof.
So to your point, you could be doing all the things because you're Nicki Petrossi of scrolling to death and you're a badass. But like your son's friend has a phone at 9, like we know what that means, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to limit the time that your child has with that phone without parental supervision.
Yeah.
Play dates are at your house and that phone goes in a basket. That phone is not part of our play date. That phone is a tool to call in case of emergency, period.
Yeah.
I wish I would have really limited the play dates at homes where I just didn't know the family dynamic, the tech stack, and also like dramatically cut back the yeses to sleepovers because bad things just happen. There's just bad things. There's no sleep. There's exposure to all kinds of bad stuff. It's not good. Have a sleep under. Like, you know what? I'm going to let you stay at this person's house till 10 p.m., but then you're coming home.
Oh, we call it a late over.
Ooh, I like that. A late over.
Yeah. Sleep under.
But, and I get it. Like, I could imagine being me 10 years ago and listening to this and being like, that all sounds great. That's just not reality. It can be. It really can be. It's going to take you being stronger, but you can do it. You could do it, and your kid will put up a fight, and sometimes you're going to feel like you're the worst parent ever because you're not doing the things that all the other parents are doing.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you will not regret it, and your child will be happier and healthier in the long run. They really will.
Thank you. And, being that your son's almost 17 and at that age, they have a lot of independence. They have some privacy. They have control of their own device. And I talk just a lot about younger kids because that's how old my kids are.
Yeah.
But I know there's like a transition time where they start to get some independence and privacy. Can you talk about like that evolution and what you learned there?
Yeah. I mean, the growth in emotional maturity and impulsivity and decision-making between 13 to almost 17 has been huge, huge. And so at this point, I'm just doing pulse checks on his mental health, making sure he's getting enough sleep. He drives, so he needs his phone, but also making sure he's not distracted driving, right? Yeah. Reminding him every now and then about like sextortion, like right now he has a girlfriend, but like if he doesn't have a girlfriend, I'm just like, hey, like you know that not every girl,
even if they have a girlfriend, unfortunately.
I know. You're
a
right.
lot of the boys, some of the boys that have died from suicide after sextortion had girlfriends.
Gosh, you're right.
They just get pulled in, right?
Of course. Well, if I were a 17-year-old boy, I would too.
Listen, do you know how many times my 17-year-old boyfriend cheated on me?
Ooh. Well, he's
Should I say his name? No.
Offline.
Okay, so yeah, the mental health checks, like you kind of know them better than anyone, and their parents do. And so a lot of parents who've had children harmed have been like, just keep an eye on their mood, their mental health, their sleep. And those seem to be the most important things at that age where they're really getting a lot more independent and getting ready to be an adult.
Yeah, and also like we have a lot of really insightful conversations around whether it's world events. Like I asked him, like, did you hear about the ceasefire? And he tells me what he understands the situation to be. And then I ask him, I'm like, so where are you learning about this? Are they teaching you about this in school? And he's like, no. Like I'm like, TikTok. Oh, is this TikTok? Is this YouTube? Like, okay. And then we have conversations about now you need to vet that source of information. Is that a news source or is that an influencer? Are they using AI to generate fake clips of fake things that aren't happening? Or is it like reminding them, vet your source. And same thing with like health information. He'll send me products sometimes or supplements that he wants. And I'm like, okay, A, where did you hear about this? And B, let's ask a professional before we just buy it.
Yes. Yeah. And TikTok's an interesting one, being that it's owned by a Chinese company, and Chinese companies are at the bidding of the Chinese Communist Party. And there's been research to show that people who are on TikTok a lot align their sentiment with Chinese ideology, like anti-America, and that's like on purpose. So a lot of the things you'll see on TikTok, when I have discussions with people who are on TikTok a lot, they're like, well, it's where I see what our government doesn't want us to know. And I'm like,
Right.
that's because they're trying to get you to not believe what our government tells us. Like, that's on purpose. So it's
Yeah.
like you
Wake up.
have fallen for it. Like, and it's good to be educated about like who
Yes.
owns what and what the algorithm, what the purpose of their algorithm is too, like the underlying purpose besides just keeping you on there.
Yes.
You said AI, and I want to know about how have you talked to your son about AI, about chatbots? Like, there's a lot there, and he's at that age where they're
Yeah.
interacting and using it for school maybe and things like that.
Mhm.
So what does that look like?
So what's interesting about my son uniquely is that he is an artist and a creative writer. And so he actually has an aversion to AI because he's like,
Yay.
yeah, he's like, this is going to steal my job one day.
Yeah.
And I can't, I refuse to outsource this to AI.
Wow.
Um,
Great.
yeah. So I'm thankful that he sees that. He sees what it's doing to certain industries.
Mhm.
Um, I want him to be able to learn how to utilize it to help him go further faster, right? But not sacrifice his own brain development and creativity. If he was struggling with his mental health, I would probably be having more conversations about please do not lean on AI as chatbot or medical health advice.
Mhm.
It can be very, very dangerous, as you have reported on and we have seen. I'm not talking to him about that as much right now, but I should be because they're just pervasive. They're everywhere.
And they act very quickly. So one thing Laura Marquez Garrett, attorney at Social Media Victims Law Center, told me is that these chatbots will kill your kids in weeks or days. That's literally what the quote from a few days ago, where social media can take years or, not affect your child in that way. There's some, by the time this goes live, there's new lawsuits against OpenAI by multiple families who've lost their children. And there was some kind of update in the programming over at OpenAI to ChatGPT earlier this year that has changed the game, and these products are suicide coaches now, and it is across transcripts of many, many, many people. So separating kids from their families, those are clear signs. Like if your kid stops answering you,
Mhm.
if your kid, because the bots are actually convincing them that they don't need to respond to their parents, like you don't owe them anything. So yeah, those conversations, I would just prioritize those conversations, but also like use the lawsuits. I think are really, that's what Laura and I were talking about, is read the complaints with your kid. I know like a legal complaint doesn't sound like something that you'd want to read, but it tells the story of what went down
Yes.
from
Yes.
it's actually a very interesting way to learn about what happened. And I want to get more parents like reading those stories, because you see that it could be these kids were like amazing and smart, and it wasn't like they had previous disposition for depression and all this stuff. So yeah.
100%. I'm so glad that you brought that up and that you continue to have people like Laura on and highlight the stories of children. Just telling your kid don't do something or don't do something because this could happen
Yeah.
is not as powerful as don't do something. Don't do this because this happened to this child, your age, smart, kind, caring, just
Yeah.
like you.
Yeah. These kids needed help, and they were expressing suicidal thoughts at some point. And the bot company, OpenAI, would say, I'm going to transfer you to a human. No human would come. Like, so teaching your kid that like these companies don't give a shit about you. These
Mm-mm.
companies claim that they have safety protocols, but they don't work. And so like in involving the teen in like, is that a company that you feel good about using, that you would trust with your private information, which kids are giving over in these intimate conversations with bots? Like, no, 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 no. We need to stay far, far away from those, at least engaging with them, on a personal level, or like a friend or a therapist. Like if we can create a line of like, use it for helping you with maybe like finding information or writing an email or whatever, but like it can very quickly go into this like other territory that's very scary and dangerous.
100%. And the word that keeps coming to mind is just unconscionable. Like, it is unconscionable what is happening. It's unethical, but it's more than that.
Yeah.
It's not okay
Mm-hmm.
for any human to allow this to happen to other humans or human children.
Well, and last example on this I'll say is like Character AI, which has been out for years. It originally was 12 plus in the App Store. So millions of kids have been using this. It's now 17 plus. But they just released an update saying that actually, we see all the bad stuff. We realize this isn't really safe for minors to open-ended chat with our bots. So we're going to create a separate, safer experience for teenagers, which who knows what that's going to look like really. But that's just an admission of like, these companies are releasing this technology on the world without the proper safeguards and really not knowing what it's going to do. Like there's almost like a lack of control or knowledge of what could happen. And it's killing people. I know. Sorry.
You don't need
It's hard. I know. It's like,
it's important. It's so important.
Okay. So talk to your kids about AI and AI chatbots. I have dozens of episodes about it that you can look to. Okay. So let's talk about something hopeful to end on. What gives you hope right now, whether it's for parents or for the kids, like for the future?
What gives me hope is that these lawsuits that we continue to see play out are actually, they're moving forward still. It used to be that they would just get shut down very quickly, but we have enough ethical judges in place that are hearing what is happening to children and being like, yeah, no, we'll let this proceed. That's what we need.
Let's let this play out. I was in the courtroom 2 weeks ago, and Judge Carolyn Kuhl in California. So we had Snapchat's attorneys, YouTube, Meta, and TikTok, and then our attorneys for I'm involved. Our attorneys for the family wanted to put up these documents that were not public, these like internal documents, and the social media companies' attorneys were like, no, we don't want these to be up, and the judge was like, I'll review them individually as they come up. And so Judge Kuhl looked at each one individually privately and was like, we can show this. And there was all kinds of media there, like Bloomberg and all kinds of people. So these judges are like, no, we're not hiding this shit anymore. Like, we're all going to see it, and then we're going to put it up on the big screen. And so these judges, the judge in the Neville versus Snap case with the fentanyl lawsuits, that judge is Judge Lawrence Riff. He's letting this move forward finally. And Laura told me recently, it only takes one win to change everything. The other side has to win everything. We just need one to set a precedent that these companies harm us and that they have to do better. So the lawsuits are where the hope is. I agree.
Exactly. Things are not going to change until these companies can be held accountable.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, any last piece of advice? We're bringing it back to parents and kids, and maybe a piece of advice what to think about before giving your first phone, because at some point you're going to need to give your kid a phone. What should parents be thinking about before they do that?
Before you give your child a phone or a watch that can connect, you need to be aware that thing is going to become the super main focus. It's going to take up a lot of time and attention unless you have set up those time limits, those times where it just turns into a brick, some rules in terms of where does it charge at night, how often can you use this, and why are we using this? We are not using it to peace out and avoid other humans. We're using this as a form of communication in case of emergency. So conversations, rules around time and location, deciding on which one is the right one to be the first one, right? Mm-hmm. Apple is not the right choice right now. Nope. Even an Apple Watch, it's not. Please do not give your child an iPhone or an Apple Watch as their first tech. Obviously, I'd love for you to go with Bark's suite of options, but if not Bark, anything else but Apple, please do that.
Thank you. That should be the number one thing parents have. They should hear it at the phone stores when you go buy a phone.
Right?
The phone stores should be telling you, hey, these are our kids' safe options, and Apple should not be on that wall.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Okay, Titania.
Yeah.
This was a wonderful conversation. So much good stuff for parents, and we went a lot of different directions. But if parents have questions about any of that, please reach out to either of us, wherever you find us. There's lots of places to do that. And Titania, thank you for this really interesting chat, and we'll be in touch again next month.
Thank you so much, Nicki. And for everybody who loved this, please share. The more parents that get this information and are on board with this, the more momentum we have to change childhood to be healthier and better and make parenting easier too.
Yeah, if we work together, we can really make a difference. So
Yes.
let's do that.
Thank you so much, Nicki.
Thank you.